Hello, hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining Diane and myself this lunchtime, where we're actually going to be talking all about can you take advantage of AI to improve or supercharge our sales. So, thank you very much for joining me, Diane. Lovely to have you here.
Welcome.
So, actually, a little bit of background as to why we're doing this, because I'm going to put my hand up and say I'm actually not a huge AI fan. But I decided that I've got to get my head around it because let's face it, it's not going away. And so I thought, right, I'm going to have a go, can't be that difficult. And I was just like trying to put stuff into AI and stuff like that, but it wasn't working. I was really struggling to get the information and content that I needed out of it instead of that, boring, bland rubbish that you get instead. So I've actually known Diane now for a number of years, and we bumped into each other at a networking event. And Diane mentioned for her sins that she's now doing AI training. And I was like, and basically, I dumped all of my AI frustrations on Diane, like how it wasn't working, I couldn't figure it out, just what is it? How does it work? Blah, 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 blah. And Diane very, very kindly said that she would show me how to do it. And, with Diane showing me how to do it, it's been a bit of a light bulb moment for me. It was like, OMG. Because what Diane helped me to do is figure out what are those prompts? What is it that you need to put into AI to get the information out that you want? And it's what I kind of realized, and so why I'm more of a fan of AI now, is that it's not about replacing you, but it's about how you can get it to work for you, how it can be an assistant for you, how it can be a sounding board for you, how it can help you create that content quicker. So the reason for this live is that I thought it'd be really useful for all you guys in my network who are experiencing the same frustrations as I did. I don't know if anybody has those sorts of frustrations or not, but that would be really good if you could let me know if that is an issue. And it's also an invitation. So for those of you that would like to get to grips with AI, like I have, Diane and I are running an AI and LinkedIn training on the 3rd of October. And that's in Leeds, so it's an in-person event, but it's having the opportunity to actually play and create your own AI prompts. And it's all about using Diane's guidance to help us do that. And of course, I'm going to be talking about LinkedIn and how you can use it on LinkedIn. So I'll share some of those details a bit later on. But I think that's enough of guessing from me at the moment. Let's get chatting with Diane and see what she thinks. And if you do have any questions, please do put them in the comments so we can get to those and we can talk about those as well, including anyone, if you're watching the replay, if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments and we'll get back to you then. So let's see. I'm just checking we're all live at the moment because I've got my other computer here, Dan. Normally I don't do this, but I can't see that I've gone live. So I hope we are live. But thank you. We've got Paul is here, so we have gone live. Thank you. Panic over LinkedIn lives. I love doing them. Sometimes I just wonder, was the technology working? Oh. But anyway, enough of that. Diane, please tell me, how is it you became an AI trainer?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on this LinkedIn Live. I've never done one before, so even if you're in the midst of technology, there are still things that are new to you. So I've always loved technology. I've worked in digital forensics for quite a long time, and I'm really rubbish at history and things that have past, things in the future, and the advancement of technology is something that absolutely fascinates me. And I think the coaching and training that I do in other guys has helped me to be able to help other people who've never used it use it in a sort of a safe space where no question is silly. We're holding hands, we're all going through it together. But yeah, AI I am so passionate about. I wouldn't like to go back to a time without AI. And I think because a lot of my job involves the written word, I find it maybe easier than some to just be able to put a prompt in and get what I want out of it straight away. And it's something that I think people would like that skill because it's going to help them get more out of AI as well.
Do you know, I love that because that's exactly what you did with me. You kind of, and also I always go, it's something you don't know what you don't know. I say the same for LinkedIn. And that's what you did. You just guided me. And when you just said this, it's just like the penny drops and you go, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness and stuff. So I just want to say hello to Julie here because it's her first LinkedIn Live. Hurrah! Hello, Julie. Lovely to have you on here. It's fantastic. I love LinkedIn Lives. I'm doing quite a lot of LinkedIn Lives, but I still worry about whether I've gone live or not. So thank you, everybody, for letting me know we are live, which is fantastic. So obviously, one of the things that you said to me when we were chatting is that, and that really got me excited and resonated with me, was about AI, was about how we can use it for ourselves and our marketing, you know, to create emails and lead magnets. So how, you know, what can we use AI for?
I think people think of it initially, if they don't use it much, as a content creation tool, which obviously it's fantastic for, there's no doubt about that. But one of the main things I use it for is research and hypothesizing, to be able to make lengthy, complicated documents simpler to understand, to put presentations together. That honestly, we could be here for about 3 hours if I tell you all the things that it can do. I mean, just this morning, it's helped me write a blog for a client. It was on a subject that I didn't know anything about, but I still managed to sound with AI's help quite knowledgeable about the subject. It's helped me put a presentation together. It's helped me put a bid together for an application for some funding. So that's all in like a couple of hours. But that the long way round, or the traditional way, would have probably taken me all day to do it by hand. So yeah, AI is assisting me to be better.
Yes, I love that. And I think actually that just come back to, you know, common worry for business owners, especially, is about AI replacing them. That's
Yeah.
that's what I get the impression. Is that
I
what you
can
find?
see why people would think that, and it will replace some tasks. I wouldn't say it'd replace a whole person's role. There's so many caveats to that it's difficult to say. But yes, it can do tasks that we might do now that are easy to automate or easy to make autonomous. So that now can be seen as a threat by some people if you've not used it, but I would say it's more of an opportunity. So if you've got AI, it can make you up to like 40% more productive. So if you've got 40% more time, you can spend more time serving more clients, so it can make you more profitable. It could make you give you time to self-develop your skills, so you could become more diverse in what you offer to your clients. It can help you be more strategic on your business. So I am very guilty of being very reactive at things. I don't probably look forward and plan things as much as I could. So with that time, you could become far more strategic and profitable from that as well. So I think it'll make us become better humans. It'll help us develop the skills that are going to be so much more in demand because AI can't replicate them. But I definitely see, whilst it might take some jobs in some bits at this end of the rainbow as such, it's going to open up so many opportunities and so many roles and new things that people, you know, data scientists, prompt engineers, these people wouldn't have existed 2.5 years ago. These are whole new sectors.
It is, and it's interesting because this is just technology all over, isn't it? Because, you know, you go back to LinkedIn was started in 2003. I was working as a marketing manager, and who knew that, you know, 10 years later, when I became a LinkedIn trainer, that I'd be doing LinkedIn. That was a whole new role. The same with Facebook, or the Facebook experts are out there. It's all like new roles and new opportunities. So I love that. It is about seeing it as an opportunity and how you can use it for your own benefit, isn't it? So if we talk about marketing and sales specifically, what can we do then with AI to go in and help us with marketing and sales? What can it help us create?
So I think on any task, as I've mentioned already, it can help us become quicker and faster at doing things, because a lot of the draft work or the initial legwork, the research, things like that can all be done by AI. So that's going to give you more time. You're going to be able to complete a task faster. I think the main thing when it comes to marketing is that you can personalize your approach for your different audiences. So you might be in a business where you only have one audience that you talk to, which is great. You can still use AI to find different angles and different ways of saying your message. But for people who maybe are freelancers or small business owners, they might wear more than one hat, or they might offer a service that's different to the next, just to cover all their bases. So if they've got more than one audience that they talk to put a generic message out, which might be what they're doing now, is fine. It's not doing things too deeply. It's all on a surface level. But with AI, you can actually get in the mind of the people that you want to talk to. So you can talk in your mind to each of these, with AI, sorry, with each of these audiences. And you can ask AI, how will this person be thinking? What are their challenges or their barriers to buying from me? What would they need to know? What are their problems? How am I a solution? And AI will literally bring you that response for you to turn it into content, which it will do for you, to be able to speak to these people and qualify all those concerns or give them all the benefits and carrots that will help them buy from you. So you can do that however many times over, applicable to the service or the audience that you want to reach to. So you're nailing things better, but also maybe to 5 different audiences or 5 different responses and calls to actions and messages in less time than you've done it once, which is
100%. It is, and actually, and I think for me it was a confidence thing. And the more I do it, the more confidence I've got with it. And so, like, I did a training last Friday, and I used AI to help me create a pre-training questionnaire. Like, what should I ask people before, you know, they come on this course to get me the information I need to understand about them? And that, you know, I could have just sat there going, well, what do I need? And, you know, because I work on my own, so it's like having somebody to brainstorm off completely. And I really love that kind of thing. And it does really cut the time down. And I think that's really important as well, because so it gave me some questions I could ask. But the thing is, I'm not just copying and pasting those questions. I'm looking at what it said and I'm going, is that right? Do I like it? Do I not like it? Can I edit it? And what often I do is I take what AI has given me, I will then reword it and go and edit it and do whatever I want. And then I put it back into AI to see if what else it will spit back out at me, to see if it's made any changes and improvements and things like that. And that's what I really I like doing with it. So where then?
Really
Yeah, we could go on forever, absolutely. I am actually getting quite excited about it, which is a real sad thing, isn't it? But anyway, AI, no. So how do we get started? What do we need to do first if we want to use AI?
What you've done is absolutely the best approach. I think it's being able to use it on a technical level. If you can type, you know, that's as simple as it is when it comes down to the mechanics. You're putting a prompt into a box, you're just asking it something. But I think the skill comes in knowing what you can get out of it. So if you spend time thinking, even if it's just seconds, thinking about what outcome you want, who is going to see this, what is it I'm trying to achieve, is there a call to action or a message, what am I wanting the audience to do? And really just play about with actually just putting that into words. You don't have to have fancy words. You don't have to have a fancy template of a prompt. You just need to give it the information that it needs to give you a detailed, layered response. If you put into it, create me a blog post on plants, it'll be a very, very generic blog post, because there's nothing in that prompt that can really get under that generic surface. But if you say, give me an article about a ficus plant, tell me about what it needs to care for it, where it's come from, how long or how high can it grow, what soil might it need, then it will produce an article of however many words, because you'll give it a word count limit, and it'll be so much more rich because you've given it that framework and you've given it that outline of what it should include. And it's not assumptions, you know, like we talked about before, about what you would have maybe assumed about things before. So about your clients, about anything else, you wouldn't need to assume anything about how to take care of that house plant. It's going across the whole of the internet. It's taking all of the information that someone's written before or someone might have done before and giving you an informed response. So it's not based on assumptions anymore. It's giving, that whole blog post is written for you in a second, and it can be on a subject you don't really know anything about, as long as you know what you want to say about it and what the angle and the topic is, which sounds really sneaky and probably quite dangerous to people watching today. But you can actually ask it, this is my business problem. How would Bill Gates answer this problem? This is what I'm struggling with. And it will trawl the internet for anything that Bill Gates has ever written or ever said, and it'll give you the answer as Bill Gates, because that's what you've asked it to do.
And you know, and that for me was a light bulb, isn't it? It's about what you put in is what you get out. And so you can even ask it to say, I need to write a blog post on this. I'm not even sure what I need to include in it. Can you help me get started? And
You
tell
could
me
even
what
ask
I
it
need.
to respond. Exactly. You can ask it if you just sort of explain what it is you're doing. If you had a little human in that corner, don't know they'd have to be little. If you had a human in the corner and you needed them to do something, how much information or what would you need to tell them for them to be able to do that task correctly or to its full potential? That is exactly how you treat a prompt in AI. Is imagine you're just talking to another human, you're explaining this is what you want, this is how you want it, this is the format you want, this is who's going to be reading it, this is literally all you need to do. That on any prompts, whatever task you're doing, is really the framework. I use it like the journalist: who, what, where, when, why, how. You know, that framework of those questions. If you get as much of that information in, you can't go wrong.
I love that. I think that is really, really interesting. And I think could be a good time to actually ask about the future of AI, because Karen here has very kindly asked a really good question. Which applications would you recommend for different tasks? But there is actually a number of AI tools, isn't there, that people can use?
There
And
is.
they're either free or paid for, aren't they?
So the one that came first, which is the Hoover of its generation, is ChatGPT, and that is the one that came to market first as a large language model. That is the one that people assume or use most. It's now part of Microsoft's Copilot, so Microsoft has a huge share in the people that made ChatGPT, which is OpenAI.com. But there are tools, such as Amazon Claude or Google's Gemini, which are very similar things, but they do have different outputs. So in comparison, if you were creating content for social media, for example, I'd say that ChatGPT will answer your question. It'll give you a response, but it's very Americanized. It's very, you go girl, you know, all emojis and really excitable, which for our tight-lipped British audiences might not be quite as go down quite as well. But Amazon Claude is a bit more it's more professional, it's a bit toned down in comparison. You can put the exact same prompts in to both tools and you'll find a different response from each, just slightly. So yeah, I think again it comes back to just playing about with them. I can write a blog post and actually just put the same prompts into ChatGPT and Claude, and I'll just mix and match, and then at the end do the bit that you mentioned before, the humanizing. I'll put my voice and my tone or how I want to be seen as the authority on top of, as a final layer on top of what AI has created. I would never use AI as a first draft. You've got so many plugins. So they're not called plugins, they're called GPTs on ChatGPT.
Yes,
Everybody
custom
knows what a
GPT.
plugin is on a website, so that's why I use that term. But people, because it's an OpenAI, it's a platform that anyone can create something on there. There's so many pre-written template type tools within ChatGPT. So you could use a photo imaging tool. There could be something that creates formulas in Excel. There's so many, thousands and thousands of different sort of pre-written template tools that just need a prompt to be using that's in ChatGPT. Some of the applications are free. Some of the such as ChatGPT has a paid for version that gives you bandwidth priority over the free version. It also has a few more things built into it. I mean, I've got that, so I find it useful to me to use. You asked about the future of AI. It's obviously debatable. I mean, we can sort of go on a trajectory of what we think will happen, but there is talk of there being a singular point around 2049 where AI's an IQ basis will actually equal a human, so it will have as much intelligence as the average human person. Whether that will, I mean, when you see of how technology is innovated itself or had these huge revelations over time, it's getting shorter and shorter between each huge revelation in technology. So the internet to the introduction of the smartphone, from smartphone to the introduction of such as voice controlled Alexa, from that to where we have now in generative AI, which is ChatGPT that learns from itself, they have been smaller and smaller pockets of time, from the thousands of years when we were cavemen to discovering fire, you know, that was thousands of years. So we are on a really high trajectory of what technology will do. I think in the shorter term, and I've read this a few times from different places, that people who develop AI tools will at some point, just because we're in a capitalist system, might start charging for that. So much is free at the moment. I think it's designed in that way for us to be able to play about with it, for us to be able to integrate it into our lives and businesses so much that we become to a point that we can't do without it. So when we're at that point,
like
I do
Google.
suspect, I do suspect that some of the services will become fee-based, whether it's a subscription model or we pay tokens on each search, for example. So I would recommend that nailing the prompts as soon as possible is going to work better in the long term, because if in a couple of years of time we're going to pay for each prompt we use, if you can nail it in one rather than nailing it in 7, it's going to save so much more money.
It is. And also there is a paid version of ChatGPT for, isn't it, as Mike says, because I use the paid version of ChatGPT. And also, to go back to Karen's question about applications for different tasks, I only have used ChatGPT, to be honest. But in that, they've got DALL-E, haven't they? DALLE, which you can use to create images. And I was going to create an image for me and you for this live, but actually it was maybe not quite there. Anyway,
I usually look better than AI, to be fair. I usually lose about 3 stone and I look 10 years younger. So
I just want to pick up actually on a question that Sarah has asked. Well, Sarah Jane and also Sarah Liddle, because Sarah is asking about, how reliable is information we receive? What about false information? And Sarah's asked a question about, plagiarism and things like that. I think that's quite a concern, isn't it, in privacy?
Yeah,
what you put into it is available to everyone. Is that right or something?
It can be and it can be. So if you have the free version, it's sharing everything that you produce, everything that you ask as a prompt across the internet. If you pay for the 4.0 or for the ChatGPT Enterprise or even the 4 Mini, you actually can turn that sharing off. So you can choose not to share your responses or your prompts with the internet, because you're just turning off that learning element. There's flaws with everything. It's a tool. I'm not suggesting that it's perfect. It's not, but humans aren't perfect either. So if you've got bias or incorrect information, it will reproduce it. It doesn't know any different. It doesn't know what's true or false. So if there's something out there, and I'll give you all a task if you want to go away and use it, and ask how many letter R's there are in strawberry. You will see that it's not perfect. But yeah, it's that's something for you to play with. But it wants to please you. So if you asked a question or you asked for a response that had 8 answers to it, for example, and you gave it a prompt that said, give me 10 answers on this subject, the last 2 will be made up, because what it wants to do is please you and fulfill that request. That's its priority, is to fulfill its request. The fact that there's only 8 plausible answers and the last 2 are false, again, doesn't mean anything to it, because it's fulfilling the response. So it will create a response that's based on the others or as near as the others to make sure it's done what it's been told to do. So yes, it absolutely should. Anything that you reproduce should be checked, especially when it's like data or statistics. If you're using the free version, it's out of date anyway, because it was brought to market without that live function. So if you're using that free version, it'll rely on that information. If you have the paid for version, it will be linked live to the internet. So all the information it uses is live, but it still doesn't mean that everything's correct, because there's misinformation and incorrect information on social media and the internet now. So all it's going to do is perpetuate that. The internet does not have true information 100%, so it can only perpetuate it. To come back to the question on copyright and plagiarism, it's taking bits from everywhere. There's so many grey areas, and there are also so many court cases going through about copyright and AI. There's not a stock answer I can give to that. It's probably where people who have created something might have gone to court because they believe the level of human interaction versus AI ripoff as such has been great enough that they feel they've got a case that could stand up in court. And I mean, there have been some that have been granted, particularly image copyright has probably been more prevalent for plagiarism or more noticeable than written plagiarism in any of its responses. So yeah, if you use it with all this in the back of your mind and just think it's a fantastic tool, I'm so passionate about it, but it's not perfect, and as long as I can work with those flaws and I can recognize and change or adapt to those flaws, it's still going to make me so much better at my job, and so much quicker and productive, and I suppose in a way more interested in what I'm doing as well, because suddenly this whole world of possibility has opened up to me. I really do sort of come from that side of things.
I agree, and I just want to say, Sue also, she finds Microsoft Copilot very good. So I've actually not used that, Sue. So maybe I should. But
it's very simple. It is ChatGPT. They bought the rights to use the ChatGPT model, and not necessarily rebranded it, but that's what Copilot's based on.
And then this also is a really, because I wasn't aware of this either, and obviously again it's really obvious. Sorry, LinkedIn user, unfortunately it's not coming through as to who you are, but obviously what's your thought on the amounts of energy AI is using? And that's a really, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, or is that's like going a little bit
I had a
too...
really good conversation with somebody from Green Tech Gathering yesterday, which is a great local company that delivers services that helps reduce the energy and everything that's in that question. I must admit, I not really thought about the energy online. I just assumed if we're damaging the planet, it's plastic in oceans, or it's using plastic straws, or the emissions from cars. And I probably didn't really think about it when we're using things online. But it was very well explained to me. I forgot the guy's name. It was absolutely fantastic how he explained that the more we use things, that if we're using the website 20 times more than we do now, we'll need bigger and better servers to be able to do that. There's got to be more storage. And it does bring it into context that we're going to be using more of an output online, so it's going to have more of an impact. I suppose it's the same as anything. Whatever we do individually will have a small impact. If the world's going that way, there's how much damage do we do to the climate now that we actually have no control of? Big business, I'm not saying any of it's right, but I don't think there's
it's a huge subject, but it is something we need to be aware of, isn't it? And it came to my awareness not that long ago, and stuff. So yeah, I think that's an interesting question which we can't personally answer ourselves, I guess. But,
I'd love to be able to say that,
yeah, I would as well. Well, what you need to do. But anyway, Steve says, you find that the content is only as good as what you put in. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that was the problem that I was having, is that what I was putting in, I wasn't getting out what I needed, and stuff like that. But do you know what? That's been absolutely brilliant. And thank you everybody for sharing and commenting and giving us your thoughts. Just before we leave, I just wanted to mention that if anybody is wanting to get to grips with AI like I've done, we're actually running an in-person AI and LinkedIn training in Leeds on the 3rd of October, where Diane is actually going to be teaching you what she taught me. She's going to talk about how to create the prompts, how to create a lead magnet, because that's actually what we're talking about with sales and marketing. It's creating a lead magnet, which is a free offer to get somebody onto your list. Then a series of 5 emails to help you nurture those people. And also how you can use that content and repurpose it, because it's all about repurpose that content into a blog and into posts that you can then use on LinkedIn as well. So it's about giving you prompts, templates, I guess, in a way, Diane, that people can use again and again. So we have 8 spaces for that. If anybody is interested, what you get obviously is a lead magnet. You can walk away with 5 emails and LinkedIn training from me. So, and for me, I think it's being able to play with it, isn't it? That's why we decided to do it in person, isn't it, Diane?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those things that for some people who haven't used it, it's been there all this time. It's nearly 2 years old, about 18 months, 2 years old. But having it as a priority where you think, right, I'm going to come home from work, I'm going to spend 2 hours on it, I'm going to play about. There's always something better to do, or it just slips from your mind, or you're just so tired when you come home from work that you just think, I can't, my brain cannot handle anymore. So this is as much as the things that you will leave all the information that you and I will give attendees, it's as much about having that space, that couple of hours to just concentrate on using it, because there's no better way to learn it than just using it for tasks and seeing what it can do.
And especially having you on hand, because that's what was useful for me to go. And also it's quite interesting to see what else everybody gets. It starts at 10 o'clock. Somebody asked a question on here, and actually I'm just going to remove that a second, because Sue's made a good point here. Actually, if we do more of our work close to home, that will mitigate some of the impact. So that's a really good point with regards to the whole green energy and stuff. And also I'll give a shout out to a company based in Yorkshire called Make It Wild. I get trees, I buy trees, they plant trees to help offset your carbon thingy, Bobby. So, you know, that's other ways that we could maybe look at, you know, how can we offset our carbon? It's not just from what we do online, but everything, isn't it? So maybe that's an option as well. So if anybody is interested in the workshop, please do come and talk to me or Diane. And any more questions, please do pop them in the chat box. Thank you. Oh, chat box, not the chat box, comments on LinkedIn. And thank you very much indeed again. And thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Bye for
Thanks.
now.
Bye.